some of you may know, I'm really interested in early years maths, particularly that early stages of the primary school, years like 1, 2 and 3, where we get that early number sense, that early understanding of number in place. So today I'm going to share with you some of my favourite resources, some books and some websites. So MathSpot has a great selection of manipulatives, and they're all virtual, so you can use them up on the screen. You can share them if you're working remotely right now. And there's lots of different things up there, right the way through into high school. They've got algebra tiles in here and algebra discs, as well as right back down to 10 frames, Dean's dice, Cuisenaire rods, you name it, they're here. And it's really, really useful website and very versatile. My next one is a game called Splat. Now this actually you can download from Steve Wyborney's website as a PowerPoint or other equivalent documents. And what happens is that the children are shown a page with dots all over it. And they have to work out how many dots. Well, that's a great subitizing exercise to start with. And then Splat comes. And it tells you in the top corner there that there were 19. On the page before, we would have seen all 19 dots. Now Splats come, we now have to work out how many dots are underneath the splats. So we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So how many can we not see? So it really leads to some great discussions. I've done this with my class just last week, and we had some really great discussions about how we know how many dots there were to start with. Some people were counting in twos, some people saw patterns like they'd see on a dice, and then we were counting, well, how do we know what's missing? It's a really great tool. Another one by Steve Wyborney, is the Etsy mysteries. So there will be a picture similar to the one here with some things in a jar or dice or bottle. And the idea is you have to use the clues to work out how many are in the jar. So there will be a number, and this again comes as a PowerPoint, so you can click through and it will come up clue number 1. So an answer's multiple of 3. So what numbers could it be? Okay, well, and it's an odd number, so now you can narrow it down even further. I usually use a hundredths chart to support me while I'm doing these activities, so we've got something we can write all over and cross things out. But I really, really like these. U-Cubed has a whole set of tasks that you can do for maths, developing number sense. And as you can see there's a drop down, you can develop them by grades and topics. But again, developing that number sense, giving you something to talk about, something to generate maths conversation. The 3X tasks are actually 3 little videos that go together. So you watch the first video and then you think about, what do you notice? What do you wonder? What do you estimate? You know, what's going to happen? There's some questions there at the bottom to suggest what you could do. But these are, again, really good conversations because at the beginning there is no right or wrong answer. It's just, what do you think? What do you notice? What could possibly happen? And again, just thinking ahead mathematically. Maths Flips are a great site by Berkeley Everett. So they are like flashcards, but instead of having the answer on the back, we have a different similar problem, so you can consider how they go together. So they're really great. They're downloadable resource. Would you rather? Now there's a whole website full of these, and there's probably more beyond this website I use here. So would you rather have 10 minutes of free time between 9 AM and 15 minutes of free time at 10 o'clock, or would you like to have half an hour of free time? So again, there's lots of conversation that can be had around that, arguing your choice either A or B. And again, just because B is actually more time, would you just prefer to have your time anytime you like? Which one doesn't belong? So on this website, each of these numbers could be the odd one out for a reason. So if I'm looking at number 1, I could say 43 is the odd one out because it's not a square number. But I could also look around and go, okay, well, then 16 is the odd one out because it's even. But if you keep going around, you will be able to find a reason that each of these is the odd one out. I mean, 9's the odd one out because it's only a single digit number. So there's lots and lots and lots of these, pages and pages. Estimation 180. So this one, you get a picture and you have to estimate, and they give you some examples to compare against. And then you have to, for this one, we had to guess Mr. Stadle's height. And then you'll see that day 1, 2, and 3 actually go together. So you estimate an information on one day. So if you know that, can you use that to help you with the information next day? So you can see from the picture, if you just make it out, Mr. Stadle is actually shorter than Mr. Stadle. So on day 1, we worked out how tall Mr. Stadle was. So Mrs. Stadle's going to be a bit shorter. And then we're going to look at his son. Well, his son's about half his height, so how high would he be? These, again, really, really good conversation generators, thinking in mathematically. So same or different? This is a very, very simple one. Obviously, to start with, you go, well, there's just three. Well, one of them's organized horizontally, one of them's organized vertically. The bears are different colors. And I'm sure the kids will find other things that are same and different too. Again, really good conversations, thinking and working mathematically. True or false routines. Now you can generate your own of these. This website had some explanation of how, but I don't think you really need lots. You can generate these with whatever you're working on in class. So here we've got, true or false. Is 2 plus 7 equal to 2 plus 5 plus 2, so 5 plus 2 plus 2? Is 5 times 24 the same or equal to 6 times 23? So you can generate those around what you're working on. Now again, it's really good conversation. Why is it true? Why is it not true? This is one of my favourite books I read at the end of last year, Choral Counting and Counting Collections. And this is something I've included in my maths lessons quite regularly over the last few months and weeks. So choral counting is where you count together as a class. So you pick a pattern, and sometimes you go across the screen and sometimes you'll go down, but you count in, let's see, counting fives, counting twos. For my students this last week, we've been doing subtraction. So we've been counting back, backwards within 100. It's been really interesting to see how we're having difficulty counting back across the tens break. But we work through it together and we work out the answers together and we talk about why, and then we practice counting back. Counting collections is you just put a collection of things out for children to count, and you watch and see how they count. What strategies do they use? So the first time I tipped out all the counters for my Year 3's class on the floor, they wanted to count them one by one. So I let them go for a while. And then after a while, somebody suggested, well, should we do twos? That would be quicker. Eventually, somebody suggested we put them in piles of 10. Anyway, we put them in piles of 10, and it actually was much, much easier for us then to count them. But the children need to come up with those ways, and it really helps develop that place value understanding. Number Talks is another one of my favourite books. Number Talks is quite popular and quite common happening in classrooms. Again, these two books here, I've read all three of these, and they all have lots and lots of different ideas at different stages. There are many, many more resources you can grab online for Number Talks. Their website there just has some explanation of how to do them. Bet lines. Now, this was something I learned about only last year. So bet lines, you bet what's going to happen next. So Tracy likes guinea pigs. Okay, so what could the question be about? How many guinea pigs does she have? One dies. She gets a new one. So then you think about, you make a bet, what's the question going to be about? Tracy has 4 guinea pigs. Okay, so now what could the question be? Okay, she gets some more, she loses some, they have babies, lots and lots of possible answers, but really getting the children to understand and think about the question and what the question is asking. Okay, she fosters 6 more. Okay, what could we do now then? So she's got 4, she fosters 6 more. So is it going to ask us how many guinea pigs she has? Is it going to ask us how many more does she have now than she had before? Excuse me. And then the final part, how many guinea pigs does she have now? But if you work through step by step, you actually get the children to understand what's happening and what's going to possibly be a question. Like if you had Tracy has 4 guinea pigs and then they said, well, I'm going to divide that by 6, well, that's just completely implausible. So what could be possible for the next question? Another one I like is numberless word problems. So I've taken the same question, but let's take the numbers out. Tracy likes guinea pigs. Great. Tracy has some guinea pigs. Okay, so she's got some. She fosters some more. So is the number you're going to get now more or less than the number you started with? How many guinea pigs does she have now? Well, they want you to add the sum to the more to work out how many guinea pigs. And then you go back and you can put some numbers in to solve the problem. So I really like this, and you can do this with any of the word problems. You just take them, put them into PowerPoint like I have, and just make them release one line at a time. So I hope that's given you some ideas of the resources that are out there to help you develop number sense. These are my favourite ones. I've written this in June 2021. I'm sure in a few months I'll have found some others, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you.